Hi, KidNuz fans. We're just 30 seconds away from a fresh episode, but we found another super fun podcast worth checking out. Here's our new friend Nick with a preview.
For over 6 years, The Past and the Curious has been winning fans, sharing stories of real people from the past, and making people smile. I'm Mick Sullivan, author of I See Lincoln's Underpants, which is a book about, well, famous people's underwear. You'll find all of those stories and much, much more in the 100-plus episodes of The Past and the Curious that are currently available. Find it in all the usual podcast places. The Past and the Curious with Mick Sullivan. That's me.
Good morning and welcome to KidNuz. I'm Kim. Today is Tuesday, January 30th, 2024. And we begin with the long arm of athletic law catching up with Russia's teenage figure skating sensation. Yesterday, the Court of Arbitration for Sport retroactively disqualified Kamila Valieva from her headline-grabbing 2022 Olympic win. Kamila's stunning performance had catapulted her Russian team to gold until test results released a day later showed she may have cheated her way to the top with a banned medication. For the first time in the history of the Games, Olympic officials canceled a medal ceremony. Now, 2 years later, Russia will likely be stripped of its first-place finish, with the gold going to the second-place Americans. The timing of the long-overdue medal ceremony is unclear, and while the head of anti-doping in the U.S. believes justice is finally being done, he added, "Our hearts hurt for yet another Russian athlete whom the system failed. This one, a young 15-year-old girl." Haters gonna hate, but there's no denying the impact of Taylor Swift on football's bottom line. According to Apex Marketing Group, the singer added a brand value of $331 million to the NFL since her first game day appearance in September. The data looked at her coverage on television, in print, and on social, then calculated the worth of each based on the reach and impact. Still a doubter? Look what she made American Airlines do. The carrier just added Super Bowl-bound flights from Kansas City with the flight number 1989, which is her birth year and the title of one of her albums. An airline spokesperson told CBS News, "You could say that we are all in our football era." United is similarly leaning into the Swift effect, but also rolled out a new Bay Area to Vegas flight number 1849 to celebrate the team named after the thousands of gold miners who rushed to California that year. One final Super Bowl note, according to TickPick, the February 11th game between Kansas City and San Francisco is now the most expensive on record, with the average price hovering around $9,800, 70% more than last year's big game. It could be a big clue to a big aviation mystery. What happened to Amelia Earhart? The round-the-world pilot disappeared over the Pacific Ocean in 1937 while attempting a record-setting solo journey. Lots of people have looked for her. All have come up empty. But pilot and former Air Force intelligence officer Tony Romeo sank a submersible near her last known location off of uninhabited Howland Island and came back with a fuzzy image of an aircraft-shaped object resting in 5,000 meters of water that he believes is her Lockheed 10E Electra. Experts are intrigued but also want something more concrete, like the serial number off the plane. Mr. Romeo intends to return to get a better look, telling the Wall Street Journal, "This is maybe the most exciting thing I'll ever do in my life. I feel like a 10-year-old going on a treasure hunt." Republicans and Democrats rarely agree these days, but cell phones, particularly in the classroom, may be the exception. CBS News reports that over the past few months, lawmakers from both parties have joined together to study the impact of the distraction and how different districts deal with it. Leading the charge is Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia and Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas. The unlikely duo is also pushing for a $5 million pilot project to provide some schools with secure containers where students can store their phones during the day. Some districts aren't waiting. According to teacher Lynn Smith from Nathaniel Green Middle School in Providence, Rhode Island, her school's new cell phone-free classroom policy has led to dramatic improvements. She told CBS News, "Our kids are focusing. Less distractions, less confrontations. Their mental health has improved." Japan's moon sniper is back in business. As we reported last week, the little robot stuck its original landing but ended up pointed away from the sun and couldn't recharge its solar batteries. JAXA, Japan's space agency, turned it off to conserve energy and patiently waited for the sun to change its angle. Yesterday, JAXA announced that the wait was worth it. They were able to restart communications and the Explorer was already snapping photos of its surroundings. One new image is a close-up of a rock known as Toy Poodle, one of many it will study to learn more about the moon's origins. Still to come, why Super Bowl 58 is once again going to the dogs. But first, today's KidNuz quiz. Why was skater Kamila Valieva just disqualified from the 2022 Olympic Games? She tested positive for a banned medication. According to a marketing company, how much brand value has Taylor Swift added to the NFL? $331 million. A South Carolina explorer believes he has found whose plane. Amelia Earhart. Republicans and Democrats seem to agree that something must be done about what? Cell phones in the classroom. In today's KidNuz Kicker, tails are already a wagging ahead of this year's Puppy Bowl. The 3-hour extravaganza always airs a couple hours ahead of the Super Bowl and is designed to make you fall in love with and want to adopt any of the 131 pups selected to participate from dozens of shelters around the country. Among them this year, Bark Purdy of Sacramento, California, and Patrick MaBones of DeSoto, Iowa. And new for 2024, 6 of the participants will be dogs with special needs. In addition to the usual Team Rough versus Team Fluff face-off, this year's pups will also take over the show's production by operating cameras, directing from the control room, and stage managing on the studio floor. The Big Mutt matchup will air February 11th on Animal Planet, Discovery, Discovery Plus, TBS, True TV, and Max at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Before we go, it's time to shout out our KidNuz classrooms, starting with Mrs. Harriman and her Team 1 online 5th graders at Odella in Independence, Ohio, Mr. Grindle and his Flanders Falcons at Flanders in Southington, Connecticut, and Miss Jabara and her Tigers at Monteith in Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan. Thanks for listening. If you love KidNuz and have a few moments to spare, please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here for more KidNuz tomorrow morning.